I'm Josie, and I hail from a quaint little place named Millstone, a tight-knit community where everyone recognized each other and the pace of life was unhurried. My parents, Max and Hadley, were pillars of virtue, instilling in me the principles of diligence and compassion. After graduating from high school, I craved a different scenery and seized the opportunity to attend a university in a bustling city, marking my departure from Millstone. The urban environment was a stark contrast, loud, vast, and swift-moving, unlike the tranquil town I left behind. Adjusting took some time, but I eventually found my footing, completing my studies and securing a job at a reputable company shortly after. Initially, I kept to myself, spending most of my time engrossed in work or exploring new technological trends. I enjoyed the solitude, especially after the loss of my parents during the pandemic, which was a tough period for me. I ended up selling our family home in Millstone and purchasing an apartment close to my job in the city, creating a fresh beginning for myself. Among the few possessions I took with me was a cherished painting by a renowned English artist, a family heirloom gifted to my great-grandmother that provided a comforting reminder of home. Work consumed much of my time, but I also launched a YouTube channel focused on information security. Surprisingly, it gained traction, attracting viewers who sought advice on protecting their personal data and securing online accounts. One day, I received a message from Daniel, a viewer who appreciated my content and had questions about online security. Our conversations evolved from professional to personal as we shared details about our lives, hobbies, and aspirations. Daniel eventually suggested meeting for coffee to continue our discussions in person. Apprehensive about meeting someone from the internet, I hesitated, but his sincerity won me over. We met at a cozy cafe near my apartment, and the connection was instantaneous. Daniel was just as personable face-to-face, sharing his passion for marketing, hiking, and his dreams of globetrotting. As we delved deeper into each other's worlds, our bond deepened. Daniel's humor, charm, and genuine interest in my endeavors were refreshing. I found myself eagerly anticipating our conversations and get-togethers, which blossomed into a meaningful relationship. One evening, as we strolled through a park, Daniel complimented me, saying, "Josie, you're amazing. I've never met anyone like you." Flattered and a bit shy, I thanked him, feeling grateful for the wonderful turn my life had taken. I enjoyed a fulfilling career, a growing YouTube channel, and a budding romance with Daniel that brought me immense joy. About 7 months into our relationship, Daniel thought it was time I met his mother. Nervous yet excited, I agreed, and we set off to visit her home in a serene neighborhood, ready to embark on this new chapter together. We rang the bell, and soon Amaya opened the door. She stood tall, her short gray hair framing a face with sharp, observant eyes. "Hi, Mom." Daniel greeted her warmly with a hug. "This is Josie." "Hello, Josie," Amaya said, her handshake firm, almost too firm. "Nice to meet you," I managed, offering a polite smile. We moved into the living room, settling down as Amaya offered us coffee. Returning with a tray, she took a seat opposite us and dove right into questioning. "So, Josie, Daniel tells me you work in IT," she started. "Yes, I do," I responded, trying to keep my tone light. "I'm with a company downtown." "And how long have you been with them?" she probed further. "About 4 years now," I replied, feeling the atmosphere grow a bit tenser. Amaya nodded thoughtfully before her next question caught me off guard. "And what sort of salary does a job like that pay?" I hesitated, taken aback by her directness. Enough to live comfortably," I said, looking to Daniel for some support. The remainder of our visit continued in a similar vein, Amaya meticulously inquiring about my financial stability. By the time we left, I felt completely drained. "That was intense," I remarked as we got into the car. "She's just protective," Daniel assured me, trying to lighten the mood as he started the engine. "She'll warm up to you." A year later, Daniel and I were married, and life began to settle into a new normal with us living together in my apartment. However, Amaya's intense curiosity about my finances seemed only to intensify. She would often visit, inspecting our home and commenting on any new purchases. "Oh, is that a new couch?" she'd ask curiously. How much did that cost? Initially, I brushed off her questions. I'm not sure, Amaya. I'd respond vaguely. I don't remember. But she persisted, scrutinizing price tags and even looking items up online as if on a personal mission to catalog my finances. Why does your mom care so much about what I spend? I finally asked Daniel one evening. She doesn't mean anything by it, he chuckled, dismissing my concerns. She just likes to know things. But to me, it was more than a minor annoyance. It felt invasive and disrespectful. Despite my efforts to establish boundaries, Amaya seemed oblivious, frequently dropping by unannounced, her visits stretching longer each time. One Saturday, hoping for a quiet day at home, I was interrupted by the doorbell. Opening the door, there was Amaya, smiling as if poised for a long visit. Hi, Josie, she greeted. Thought we could spend the day together. Amaya, I need some alone time today, I replied, trying to be as polite yet firm as possible. Oh, come on, she insisted, brushing past me into the apartment. We can have some coffee and chat. It'll be fun. Reluctantly, I agreed, hoping she would soon take the hint. As we sat in the living room, Amaya prattled on about her recent projects, but my mind was elsewhere, pondering how to maintain my privacy without causing a rift between Daniel and his mom. Over time, Amaya's frequent and prolonged visits became more invasive. I gently suggested she visit less. You know, Amaya, I really need some quiet time to work, I would hint, but she seemed not to understand, or chose to ignore it. Out of frustration, I began leaving the house whenever she arrived, seeking peace elsewhere. One day, as I slipped out to avoid another long afternoon, Amaya followed me. Catching up to me, she called out. Amaya suggested we grab a coffee at a nearby cafe to talk things through, hoping it might help ease the tension between us. We settled into our seats, and Amaya ordered some food for herself. However, when the bill arrived, she suddenly claimed to have forgotten her wallet. Reluctantly, I covered the bill, trying to keep my composure, though I felt a surge of irritation. Once we returned to my apartment, I couldn't hold back any longer. Amaya, we need to talk, I began, striving to keep my voice steady. You can't just show up, invite yourself, and then expect me to cover all the expenses. Amaya seemed taken aback. I didn't mean any harm, Josie. I thought we were just enjoying some time together. Enjoying time doesn't mean you taking advantage of my generosity, I countered firmly. I have my bills and responsibilities to manage. Amaya left abruptly, clearly offended by the confrontation. When Daniel came home and I explained what had happened, he wasn't pleased with my approach. Why can't you just be nice to her? He protested. She's my mother. Daniel, she crossed a line today, I replied, exasperated. She needs to respect our space and my boundaries. You're overreacting, he dismissed. Just let it go for now. Amaya stayed away for a while, which was a relief, but then I noticed something odd. The cherished painting from my parents was hanging crookedly in the living room. I always made sure it was perfectly aligned. Puzzled, I asked Daniel about it. Oh, Mom took it to get it appraised, he nonchalantly replied, glued to his phone. She was curious about its value. I was stunned and immediately phoned Amaya, ready to confront her. But before I could speak, she chimed in brightly. Josie, I was just about to call you. The painting is worth $600,000. We should consider selling it. Amaya, it's my painting. You had no right to take it for an appraisal, I snapped, my temper flaring. Oh, come on, Josie. Amaya's voice hardened. Think of what we could do with that money. No, I cut her off firmly. Don't you ever touch my belongings without asking again? Amaya fell silent for a moment before hanging up. When Daniel returned home, I told him about the call. She wants to sell the painting, I said, still incensed. So what? It's just a painting, he replied dismissively. Just a painting? It's a family heirloom. It means something to me. I raised my voice, feeling my frustration peaked. You're making too much of this, he said, clearly annoyed. Just drop it. Determined to protect my possessions, I decided to move the painting to my office and set up a small camera for security, taking extra precautions to ensure nothing else went missing. One day, I came home early, something unusual for me. The house was quiet until I stepped into the living room and found Daniel and Amaya sitting on the sofa casually, as if everything was normal. "Daniel, what are you doing here in the middle of the day? Shouldn't you be at work?" I asked, surprised and confused. He looked up with a nonchalant shrug. "I quit my job," he said casually, as if it were the most normal decision. "You make enough for both of us." As Amaya nodded with a smug expression, it seemed they had orchestrated this moment together. "That's right, Josie. Why should he work himself to death when you earn plenty?" she stated with a sense of entitlement. A wave of anger and disbelief washed over me. "Are you serious?" I snapped. "You quit your job without discussing it with me, and now you expect me to support both of you?" Daniel stood, a grin spreading across his face, his calm demeanor almost taunting. "Well, yeah. And if we divorce, I'll need alimony." "Fair's fair. You make more than enough," he said nonchalantly. His words felt like a physical blow. This was their plan all along, to use me for financial gain. Stunned by the audacity, I found my resolve. "That's it. I want a divorce," I declared, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Amaya chuckled darkly from the couch. "Good luck with that, dear. We'll see you in court," she sneered, her voice filled with venom. Daniel casually picked up a duffel bag and began packing his belongings right in front of me. I was frozen for a moment, the shock mingling with painful clarity. The man I had married and his mother had been scheming against me all along. As Daniel walked past on his way to the door, he gave a mocking salute. "See you around, Josie." Amaya followed, her gaze sharp and hostile. "Prepare your checkbook," she taunted as they exited, the door slamming shut behind them, leaving a heavy silence in their wake. I slumped into a chair, my mind reeling from the rapid unraveling of my marriage. This nightmare was my reality. Shaking off the shock, I grabbed my phone and called Charles, a friend's husband and a lawyer. "Charles, it's Josie. I need your help. Daniel just left, and he wants alimony. And it's not just that, he planned this with his mother. I need to file for divorce, and it needs to be bulletproof." Charles's response was immediate and supportive, a lifeline amidst the chaos. "I'm on it, Josie. We'll make sure you're protected. They won't get away with this." Filing for divorce marked the start of a bitter legal battle. The first court appearance was torturous. Daniel portrayed himself as the innocent victim, claiming he had lost his job and I had abandoned him. He painted a picture of being the perfect, supportive husband, all of which were lies. But the worst part came when Amaya testified. "Your Honor," she began, her voice using fake concern, "my son is a victim here. Josie treated him terribly. She controlled everything and made all the decisions, and now she's throwing him out just because he lost his job. She's a real domestic tyrant." I sat there, stunned by their blatant dishonesty. Charles, seeing my distress, stood to defend me. "Your Honor, let's look at the facts. Daniel's story doesn't add up. Josie supported him financially and emotionally, and there's evidence to prove it. The claims of her being a domestic tyrant are not only unfounded, but also an attempt to manipulate this court. Despite our efforts, I could see that Daniel's emotional act and Amaya's feigned support had impacted the judge. As we left the courtroom, Amaya approached me with a smirk. "You think you're smart, Josie, but just wait. You'll lose, and when you do, you'll be paying out for years," she hissed. Her words were chilling, but I steeled myself. This was not just a fight for my finances, but a fight for my dignity and truth. I took a deep breath, steeling myself as I faced her, defiance burning in my eyes. "We'll see about that," I retorted, with Charles's comforting presence beside me as we left. The drive home was a whirlwind of thoughts. It was infuriating how they always twisted the facts, casting me as the antagonist in their warped narrative. Charles reassured me that we would counterattack, that we would unveil the truth. Yet, a part of me was gnawed by doubt. What if the judge sided with them? The looming court decision weighed on me heavily. Back home in the serene quiet of my living room, the threat of losing everything became palpable, and I was not about to let Daniel and his manipulative mother win without a fight. Driven by urgency, I called Freya. Her husband Charles, who was also my attorney, needed to hear what I had planned. "Hey, could you and Charles swing by? We need to discuss the case," I urged her over the phone. When they arrived, we started off with some coffee, settling in before diving into the case details. Mid-conversation, Freya, eyeing a painting I had recently rehung, remarked, "Doesn't that look more vivid than before?" Turning to see what she meant, the colors did indeed seem unusually bright. A suspicion crept over me, prompting me to check the hidden camera I had installed in my office. I reviewed the footage, and there it was. A few weeks back, Daniel and his mother were in my office, acting suspiciously before they took down the original painting. Daniel then disappeared off-screen, returning with a different piece, which they hung up deceitfully. I turned up the volume, catching their scheming whispers. "Once we swap this, she won't even notice. Then we can sell the original and split the money," Daniel plotted, with his mother's conniving laughter echoing. "She trusts too easily. Once we file for divorce, I'll make sure you get alimony. She's just a gullible fool." Fury and betrayal welled up inside me. After taking a moment to compose myself, I walked back to the living room. "You need to see this," I declared, my voice calm but firm. We watched the damning video together, their faces turning from concern to shocked as the deceit unfolded on my screen. After the video, a silent consensus filled the room. Charles finally spoke, resolve in his voice. "This is it. This is the proof we need to win in court." We spent the day strategizing. Charles meticulously prepared the legal arguments while Freya helped organize the evidence, ensuring everything was set for the upcoming trial. As they left, Charles reassured me, "With this evidence, the judge will definitely see the truth." The next court date loomed ahead, a mix of apprehension and resolve fueling me. We were armed with the hidden camera footage, ready to expose their fraud. As the judge called the session to order, Charles wasted no time. "Your Honor, we have video evidence critical to this case," he declared confidently. The judge allowed us to proceed, and as Charles connected the laptop to the projector, a hushed anticipation fell over the courtroom. The video played, unveiling the calculated betrayal right there in my home office. As the video ended, revealing their deceit, Daniel and Amaya's faces went pale. The court fell silent, the weight of their exposed schemes settling over everyone present. The judge struck his gavel sharply, announcing a brief recess to further examine the evidence, stirring a flurry of whispers among the crowd. When the court resumed, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. The judge returned to his bench and promptly declared his readiness to deliver a verdict. With authoritative certainty, he stated, "The evidence presented clearly demonstrates a deliberate attempt to defraud the plaintiff, orchestrated by her husband and his mother." His stern gaze swept over Daniel and Amaya as he continued, "Therefore, I am granting the divorce in favor of the plaintiff and ruling in her favor in all matters of this lawsuit." But the judge wasn't done. He turned to his assistant, instructing, "Please call the police. We need to address a theft case here." My heart raced as police officers entered the courtroom and approached Daniel and his visibly distressed mother. Amaya, tears streaming down her face, cried out about her debts driving her actions as the officers handcuffed her. Daniel remained silent, his face a mask of shock and defeat. They were both escorted out amid the murmurs of the onlookers. The judge then addressed me. "Miss Jenkins, the painting will be returned to you. I apologize for the ordeal you have endured." As I exited the courtroom, the mixed feelings of the day washed over me. The victory was clear, but the sight of Daniel and his mother being led away left me with no joy, only a sense of solemn justice being served. Later, celebrating the end of this tumultuous chapter with Charles and Freya, I contemplated the future. "What will you do now?" Freya asked, raising her glass. I smiled, feeling a newfound purpose. "I'm going to focus on my YouTube channel and expand it. I want to share my story and help others who might be facing similar battles. I'll turn this experience into something positive." 3 years after the courtroom drama, I had settled into a routine. My work as an IT specialist was fulfilling, and my YouTube channel on data security and personal resilience was thriving. One evening, as I finished a video on cybersecurity, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Curiosity led me to answer. It was Daniel, his voice hesitant. Hey, it's Daniel. I just wanted to let you know that my mom and I are out of prison. We're in a rented place now. It's cramped, but it's something, he said, his voice tinged with awkwardness. I paused, processing his unexpected call. Okay, I replied coolly, wondering what he could want. I was thinking maybe we could try again? Start over. His hopeful tone held a hint of desperation that didn't sit right with me. A laugh escaped me, disbelief and amusement mingling in the sound. You've got to be kidding me, Daniel. After everything, you really think I'd take you back? I could almost hear his hope waning over the phone. We were good together, weren't we? Before all the legal stuff, he persisted. Shaking my head, even though he couldn't see, I cut him off. Daniel, listen. You betrayed me. There's no going back from that. The finality in my voice marked the end of that conversation, and perhaps the final closure I needed from that chapter of my life. After ending the call, a wave of empowerment washed over me. It was a clear sign that I had moved past the old ties that once held me back. Those who had tried to pull me into their deceitful plans no longer had any hold on me. As I turned back to my work, I realized that this incident was not just a personal victory, but also a compelling story worth sharing on my channel. It wasn't just about the recent call, but the entire ordeal that had unfolded. I set up my camera, ready to share a different kind of video with my viewers. Hey everyone, I started, my voice firm and confident. Today, I want to talk about something a little different. I'm going to share a personal story of how I discovered a serious betrayal and fraud in my life using a hidden camera. I went through the details of setting up the camera, what it had captured, and how crucial it was in my legal battle. This is why staying vigilant is so important, I concluded. Technology can be a powerful ally in protecting ourselves from those who seek to deceive and exploit us. After I uploaded the video, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Messages of support poured in, along with stories from viewers who had encountered similar situations. It was evident that my experience struck a chord, offering not just a warning but also a message of strength and resilience to others. This experience, though challenging, underscored the importance of being proactive and cautious, even in personal matters. It also reminded me of the broader impact of sharing our stories, to educate, empower, and connect with others facing their battles, showing them that they too can overcome and safeguard their lives.